If you like this video, make sure to visit our Vimeo page and follow us to get the latest update.
Okay, so we will try to cover at least two topics. We will try to cover more about advanced DSO because we've already covered a bit about info objects. So I don't want to emphasize much on info objects. But again, just to give a bit of comfort to James, I will quickly talk about info objects because he need to understand the complete flow. Okay, and then the other topics we'll cover in the next week session, hopefully. Okay. So, James, as if you can recall from our previous sessions, as we have learned in our past sessions that, the whole game is all about data. Okay, we bring the data from various sources. Okay, and then we present it to in a reporting format to the business. Now, when we talk about data, the data is typically structured the majority of the time, even though these days we have different types of data like semi-structured, unstructured, and whatnot. But still, 80–90% of the business requirements are for structured data. So now when we talk about the structured data, whatever data we capture from wherever sources it might be, we try to capture and put that data into a table format. You know that, okay? So the data is in a either row based table or column based table. That's a different story in HANA, but it is in the form of a table. Now, in the table, when we talk about a general definition of table, a table contains rows and columns. Okay, and the columns are nothing but the actual fields. In simple terms, the columns are the fields. Those fields are nothing but info objects in the BW world. Okay, in the data warehousing world, they are also called as info objects, information objects. That is nothing but the field name. So for instance, we have seen a table previously, like a customer table. Okay, I will share a different screen now. If you can recall our 3 weeks before session, James, we have created some info objects in the table in the system. I'm sharing my screen. Is it visible, this one?
Yeah, I can see it.
HANA Studio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
HANA Studio is visible, good. So what happens is, if we see this, try to recall what we built 3 weeks ago, you remember that we created few info objects in the system: customer ID, customer name, customer address, date of birth, bank, product, quantity, amount, and currency. All these are the different fields in a table. I'm saying this is a customer master table. This is something, this table is holding customer related information. Now, when we deep dive further into the table, you would notice that there are some fields which hold only descriptive information. And then there are certain fields which holds numeric or analytical related information. So now those fields which hold the descriptive information or the characteristic type information are called as characteristic info objects. And there are key figure fields which hold the numeric or analytical related information, wherein you can perform certain calculation. Okay. Now, in majority of the cases, we have, okay, customer ID, it's a characteristic information. So it's a characteristic field. James, the name. What are the names? Names is nothing but. What are the names? Names are characteristic info objects. Addresses. What is address? Address is again characteristic information. What is date of birth? Is it characteristic or key figure?
think it's a figure.
Yeah, it can be classified as both. Date of birth is a date. Date can come under both characteristic and key figure. If you are performing certain calculations, you can also use it as a key figure. But in majority of the cases, we don't usually do a bit of analysis on calculations on the date much, apart from converting into a different format like calendar year to calendar, cal day to cal month and cal year. That's a different story. We'll see that in detail later. But most of the time, the date fields are characteristic. Then bank details. Is it a characteristic or key figure?
Characteristic.
Likewise, product.
It's characteristic.
Quantity and amount.
Figure.
Key figures, correct. So these are key figures, and currency is nothing but the unit of currency for the amount. Okay, so it's a unit info object. It is neither characteristic or key figure, but it's a different type of info object. We will learn about that at later stage again. It's a unit. Okay, now don't shift. Okay, now I'll switch to again back to this screen. So what is an info object? Info object is the basic building block in BW. It holds the information related to fields. This is as simple as that. Okay, so the info objects again, if you see, as I said, the number of objects in the BW for HANA, they are actually classified into only two types: persistent objects, which is physical; virtualization, which is virtual objects. So physical objects and virtual. There used to be lots of objects before. I don't want you to get confused with that. This is in the older version of BW, but now with the BW for HANA, ignore by day provider as well. We only have 4 objects: info object, ADSO, OpenODS view, and composite provider. These are the 4 objects we have in BW for HANA. We will try to learn how to create these 4 objects in BW for HANA. We have already learned how to create info objects. Okay, we have seen in the previous sessions. If you can have a look into the previous videos, you would see that we created lots of info objects in the system. Okay, I'm just skipping simply the info objects content because I want to show practicals as well. We will just jump to advanced DSO, but in case if you have any doubts, come back to me next session with your doubts. Okay, now in typical database, the data is stored in tables. Here you can correlate advanced DSO to a type of table. Assume that it's an object which can hold data in a tabular format. So whatever fields you want to bring from the source, we need to then have those fields in the advanced DSO which we are going to create. Okay, so all the fields which we want needs to be available in the advanced DSO. Okay, so advanced DSO is again a persistent object where the data is physically stored. Okay, how does the advanced DSO work? For you folks, Rupa and Rakesh, this is nothing but ODS only. It still have the same functionality of capability of ODSO with the 3 tables. I believe you are very much familiar with the concept of new data table, which is inbound table versus active data table and change log table, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it still works on the same concept. We have the same stuff, but bit more flexible with regards to the way we create it and the way the views are generated. There are some other views which gets created along with it. I don't want to talk about it at a database level. We have reporting view, extraction view, and external SQL view along with every ADSO which is created. Whenever an ADSO is created, there is a system generated view for that object. So there is a system generated reporting view, extraction view, and SQL views. If you want to access the table directly at SQL level, you can do that as well using the SQL code by going to the HANA DB mode. Okay, you can do that. But in short, it is a replica of DSO. It has got 3 tables. Again, I don't know to explain here to you, James, because theoretically, again, it might not make much sense. When we create the object, when we load the data, then I will come back to this particular slide. Okay. Now, as you were asking Rupa the other day, to show you all the different types of ADSOs, we will definitely learn multiple types of ADSOs in our session. Even you can also, once you get the access, you can also start practicing by creating different types. But from the theory perspective, I will try to explain those different types of ADSOs, and practically we will also see how we can create. Okay. So we have standard data store object. Okay, standard DSO. This is similar to classic DSO in our BW world. Then we have staging data store object. This is similar to write optimized. Can anyone of you tell me why we used to use write optimized ODSO in BW? What was the benefit?
Staging, just like
Staging, correct.
yeah.
Correct. Does it create SIDs?
No.
Very good. You are right. And
It
what was the other
basically-
benefit with this?
Yeah, there is no need for activation, so data load
Correct.
becomes faster.
Correct. There's no need for activation. Data load becomes faster. That was the whole reason we used to use that. Okay. If you want, you can do that. Personally speaking, see, why do we need to worry about that when we are in the HANA database? Then what's the point of moving to HANA? I don't, from a personal perspective, I don't see a valid business case here to even have this feature here in the new world. They could have even simplified it further. Why do we need to have these many different types now? I mean, it's like they could have just simply, because we have the HANA power with us. We have the ability to leverage the speed of HANA. SAP could have further simplified the object itself. But anyways, it
So,
went to.
basically, you're saying that since the data load in HANA database is already faster comparatively with before versions, so there was no need to add the right optimize or keep the right optimize.
Correct. They could have simply disabled that feature
Disabled,
or took out of the. But anyways, it is all up to the developers who developed this tool. So but just logically speaking, if you speak logically, what do you think a business case to create a right optimize in the HANA world would be? We are obviously avoiding the multiple flows in the landscape. We don't have multiple objects hierarchy now. What we used to have in our LSA architecture, it is changed. The way we build the objects is hardly 3-tier architecture. I would say three layers architecture. That's it. Not more than 3 or 4. If it is extremely needed, maybe you can go up to 4. But beyond that, I don't see a reason for us to have that many, duplication. And SAP is also advocating us to steer away from physical persistence. They are encouraging us to go as much close to as possible for virtual objects. Okay, that is the I would say current trend with regards to object creation in the landscape. But obviously it depends on the business case. It depends on the way you want to build the design of your solution. It all depends on the architecture of your landscape. Okay.
Ian, just one
So
question.
yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean by the three-tier architecture?
No, not 3-tier. 3-tier in the sense 3 layers. I would say
Okay.
we have in the LSA++
DSO,
architecture.
And then
Correct.
monthly providers. Okay. Okay.
Correct. So here we
Yes.
don't have DSO and cube. What we have is ADSO, which is okay, fine. The first layer. Then the second layer, if you want to do the business transformation, you do the business transformation and consolidate the data at the second layer DSO. And at the third layer, we have a virtual provider like a composite provider. That's it. We don't have to have anything beyond 3 layers of flow in the architecture, in the data model. Even can anyone tell me what was the benefit of direct update DSO?
Actually, I haven't used direct update in my project.
Like it's like we usually load it using APD's remote data, Ian.
Yeah, I have seen that there was an APD which was pulling data from query and loading into direct update DSOs. So I was actually not sure what's the purpose of loading into that direct update, because they can also do that in light optimize. Am
Correct.
I wrong?
No, they can.
I just worked on a scenario where we have a path or where users used to directly place a flat file. That I exactly don't remember, like which is the T code. Like application server, there used to be a application files loaded. In using that APDs, these files were being extracted from the program and then loaded to this DSO. From this DSO, I mean direct update DSO, and from there we used to load it to the regular standard DSOs and use for reporting.
Okay.
Correct. See,
One man.
the T code is for application server is A11. So we
Yeah,
usually load, yes.
Yeah.
So for
correct.
the flat files to do the automation with the background load, we
Yes.
place the file in the application server, and with the A11 we bring the data. So sorry to off track you, James. We are just trying to correlate what we learned in the previous version of BW, because these folks, both Rupa and Rakesh, has got prior experience of working on the BW. So maybe you might be lost in this discussion. I don't want to miss you, but just to keep the and again, my view, personal view, I might be wrong as well, but again, my personal view is we don't have APDs. We can directly load data into standard DSO. Why do we need again the similar concept of direct update data store object? Again, it doesn't really make sense to have that. If it is needed, maybe SAP might have kept it, but obviously there are other ways to do it. So if we can just simplify, see from the if I am building a product, okay, you tell me, like, what is the reason that Apple is so popular with regards to cell phones and iPads? Is it just the physical aspects of it, or is it also the UI of Apple which makes it more appealing to the customers? It's a combination of both, right? It is not just the stability of the phone, or it is not just the response time or the features of the phone, but it is a combination of the operating system and then the features and physical aspects as well. Likewise, if you try to have a product, again, we don't need to discuss this because we are not going to change anything. SAP is not going to listen to us. So but from the overall product perspective, my view is always the same, is that whenever you design a solution, keep a very simple design to it, irrespective of the complexity. Try to address it, a complexity at a database layer, or code push down layer, and then keep the flow as simple as possible. The less code, the more closer to standard flow you are, the easier for you to go live, the easier for you to maintain, and in the long run the customer would benefit. And it is always easier for someone to take a KT if you are stick to standard flows.
Right. Yeah.
Correct. So the way, James, the data flows is we have a source system like a flat file. From here we load the data. It will go into first inbound table, and then from there it will go into active data table and changelog table once we activate the DSO, ADSO, and then from there you can take it to further objects in the landscape, or like a composite provider or another ADSO depending on the business requirement, and or directly to a reporting tool. You can directly generate a report on top of this object. Now, whenever a reporting tool or a query is executed on top of built on top of this object, it always read the active data table. Now I will tell you, ADSO is like a object. Okay, it is like a object name in BW, but internally this object has got 3 tables. Whenever we create an ADSO, there are 3 tables which gets created along with this object creation. Are you getting my point, James?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are trying to create a persistent object in BW system. The object name is advanced DSO. When I create an advanced DSO object in the system, as soon as that object is activated, there are 3 associated tables of that particular object which gets created in the system, in the landscape. Okay.
Okay.
So one is inbound table, which is also called as a new data table, active data table, changelog table, and this is enough. So we will go through that in the subsequent sessions.
So the change log doesn't come in.
No, this is a different one. Okay, these are the different types. In the general one,
Oh, okay.
in the general ODSO, again there are different types here. If you see here, with the right optimized, what would happen, and with the next level, if it is not right optimized, what would happen? It will tell us.
Oh, okay.
Changelog table. Okay, I will tell you. What happens is initially when you load the data, it gets loaded into the inbound table, and then you need to activate it. Rupa, can you just go on the mute for a while, please, if you don't mind?
Sorry.
I'll just, okay, fine, thank you. So James, like what happens is once you load the data into the ADSO, it gets loaded into different places. It needs to first go through inbound table. Then once you activate it, it will go into the active data table. Along with the active data table, as soon as you activate the data, there is a change log created associated to the data. That change log will help you to capture the delta changes happening to the object. In future, if there are some new changes which is happening to the ADSO, then you can trace and track what changes has happened with the delta logs, which are captured in the changelog table. But actual data is maintained in active data table. You can create a query on top of the active data table and build a report in the system, or you can move the data from active data table to a separate target. Okay. Now, the next one is advanced DSO of type standard, which doesn't have an excluding change log. So if you don't select the right optimized change log, right change log, then it will not write the change log. The changes are not captured. It will just simply, load the data to the active data table. But it is difficult to track the delta changes if you don't select right change log. It is always good to have this right change log. I believe, if I remember well, we have this right change log selection by default. If you exclusively want to take it out, then you can take it out and then load the data without maintaining the change log if you like to. But for this, you have to uncheck here. Then there's a different type of ADSO. One is a standard ADSO. There's a standard staging data store object. This is something we were discussing.
Sorry to bug in. So why do you have to check right change log? Is it all the time? What was the reason behind it?
See, you don't want to maintain the change history. If you don't want to maintain the change log history, you can uncheck it. It is not the right practice. You always, okay. I prefer to have the change log maintained. And it is just to load the data faster. So I don't see we are in a HANA database. We have to worry about, loading the data faster or saving the table space. I'm not concerned about that when we are working in the HANA database. So that's the reason I was discussing with these folks, Rakesh and Rupa, that personally, if I would have been a product manager of this particular product, I would keep it very simple, have only one standard feature and have a simple object. I did not want to confuse my developers or the product users with having unnecessary features inside the product, because we are addressing the challenges of speed and performance by opting for HANA as a database. We are not working on any other database anymore. We are working only on HANA database in this particular tool. And as we are on a HANA database, we have the power of in-memory computing. We have the power of columnar data storage. We don't really need to worry that much about the performance and aspects related to performance in the system. Obviously, it is important, but considering that it's a HANA database, this shouldn't be an issue at all. Okay, so there are different types of ADSO objects. Again, I don't want to confuse you too much. Let's jump into system. But in short, there is a standard DSO, there is a staging, there is a data mart, there is a direct update DSO. These are in business terms, I would say that these are very rarely used. We use most of the time standard DSO object. Okay, what these are, why these features are, we will see it at a later time. I don't want to miss today's session without practicals. Is it okay if we extend the session by a few minutes today?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I'm quickly jumping into my remote system. This is remote desktop, and we remember we have already created info objects for this flat file. If you open this flat file and see it, why is it not feasible? So we go to MSTSC remote desktop and then connect to the credentials given to us. You remember, this is the file we based on this file we created the info objects 2-3 weeks ago. Okay, customer ID, customer name, customer address. We'll just quickly see where we created these objects. James, you remember I created a info area with your name, if you remember, in the system. So it should be there in your info area only. What I did is today and between last couple of weeks, I created some of additional objects, but let's see the info objects which I was referring to, which we created. Okay, we already have a customer address, bank, date of birth, customer name, customer ID, and product. Do you see that all the 6 are there? Customer ID, customer name, customer address, bank.
But I can't see anything on the screen.
Okay, are you not able to see anything
right now?
Okay, I'm sharing a different screen, which is MSTSC, which is the HANA Studio. Are you still not able to see it? Okay,
I can see it now.
Okay, so we are into the HANA Studio. We have switched from the theory part. I don't want to conduct any theory. We are doing the practicals now. Okay, so you remember this was the file we created a few weeks ago, and these are the objects in the file. What we did is we went to the system. I wanted to show some practicals. I will close this unnecessary GUI screen. Okay, and let's go to the HANA Studio. This is the HANA Studio. We have an info area. I created an info area in our main info area ZIA underscore ZT2 ZaranTech second batch. Okay, like and here it is James info area. I created an info area with your name. Under your info area, I created some info objects. There are a few info objects of characteristic type and key figure type. So characteristic type info objects, how many are there in our file? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 characteristic type info objects and 2 key figure type info object, and 1 is a currency type info object. Let us see whether it is available here or not. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characteristic info objects, and we have two key figure info objects. The currency is missing. Why is it missing? Because currency gets tagged to the key figure info object. So the zero currency is part of amount field. If you double click here, amount info object, you should notice that the info object type is zero currency. There are two types. One is a fixed currency. There is a zero currency. Maybe for you, James, I can explain this again in depth if you feel that there is a bit of difficulty. But I would suggest you go through the videos once again and try to recap what we learned in the previous sessions. Okay.
All right.
So that would be helpful for you. Okay. Now we have the skeleton of the objects. What we want to do is, I'm very quickly switching my screen to whiteboard. Where is the whiteboard? Okay, good. So it's a whiteboard here. Is it visible? This whiteboard is displays visible to you folks?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I'm not worried about the elliptical format and stuff. It's not there in this whiteboard, so I don't want to just understand the purpose. So the purpose here is, we have a data source. Data source is nothing but the Excel file. Okay, that is our data source here in our scenario. Okay, the customer CSV file we created a few weeks ago. Okay, so the CSV file is our data source. The data source is of type what, this data source is of type okay, I don't know what's happening here. Okay, this data source is of type flat file source system. So it is coming from the flat file. Likewise, we have here a ADSO. Okay, we want to create an ADSO for customer ADSO. Okay, so we'll create a customer ADSO here, and we have a data store object here. In between, we have to do something called as mapping of the objects from data source to ADSO. That mapping part is called as transformation. For the time being, I don't want to get into the explanation of transformation, but it is as good as linking one table to another table. Okay, that job it is done. Okay, done by transformation. So it's a transformation wherein you do the 1:1 data mapping, or you apply some transfer rules and push the data from source to target. And along with the transformation, you have to load the data. So the data loading is nothing but your DTP, data transfer process, and DTP stands for data transfer process. So this is used to load the data. Here it is used to map the data. This is used for DTP is used for loading the data. Okay. So what I'm trying to say here is, in our flow, we are trying to create a data source, which we have to create. And then we have to create an ADSO. We have to create a transformation DTP, and then trigger the DTP to load the data and then see the content there. If we can achieve this today, that would be really awesome. That is what is the objective. Okay, we already created the info objects, which is good. So that would save a bit of time. I will quickly jump to my screen again. Do I need to close this? Leave it. I don't want to save it. It's not good. Okay, I'm resharing my again. What do you say? HANA Studio. Is it visible? Let me know once it is visible.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right
So,
now it is.
James, I believe for both Rupa and Rakesh, they are okay, I believe, with the flow. For you, James, just understand that we are creating a table. Okay, on a high level. Actually, it is not one table. It's a one object which has got 3 tables inside it. But imagine that it is like a big table which has got again 3 subtables. Okay, so we will try to create an ADSO here. We got the info objects skeleton ready. We will try to create an ADSO in your info area. I go to here and say new ADSO. Do you see something called as advanced DSO somewhere here, right? James.
Yeah, this is all.
Okay. Yes. So I am creating a new ADSO here. It is like a table. In the table, I need to have all the fields. There are again, to create something in BW, especially here, at least 2 to 3 different ways we can create the objects. This is something, a long route I am taking. Then there is something called as a data flow object. Once we learn about data flow, the same exercise, what we do today, it would be at least 70-80% faster. Okay, but because you are learning, I want to show you everything, all the options. I just don't want to show you the quick option. I want to show you the conventional. This is what we used to do in the old version of BW. I want to show you both. Okay, so we give a name to the object, so it's like a table. The naming convention we typically follow as per the project guidelines. uh, we usually follow norms, for ADSO we give ZA or ZADSO, and then it's a customer table. I already created 3 ADSOs before. So customer ADSO 4. Okay, this is something I'm creating a new object, ADSO. So once I enter the name and description, then there are options like if you want to copy from an old ADSO, we can do that. I don't want to go to shortcuts. And if there are any templates you want to use it, leave it. I don't want to do that. If you want to map it with a data source, yes, I can do select the data source and source system and do the mapping. That would be easy. But again, I want to choose the long route. So I'm skipping all those features, whatever are available. We will see one by one again in our future class as well. But let's move on to
Yeah.
the next.
Sorry, do you always have to use an underscore?
No, I use it. The reason being that readability wise, it is easy, but there is no need at all. You can give whatever you want. You can use, you don't even need to give ZADS. So you can use any alphabet, but typically it is best practice to always use at least for custom objects, start with Z. If you don't want to use any of these, I would say that's fine. Any of the naming conventions, that is fine, but at least start the objects with Z. Even though SAP BW allows you to pick and choose the business object names with any alphabet. See, by default, as I said, when I click onto this general screen, by default, you always have write change log selected. Okay, let's go ahead with the only standard object in today's session. I don't want to get into too much nitty-gritties of the other details. We will revisit this. Okay, now what exercise we might need to do is one exercise which we might need to do is to expand the objects that would help us to pick and choose in our this. So we have to have these info objects in this particular ADSO. Again, you are learning this, but there is again a shorter way, shortcut as well to do the same exercise. What we are doing like this, it is in practicals, it is not even needed for you to do this exercise. There is a easier way using the data flow object. We can do it. So, but anyways, we will see the standard procedure. We have to add all these info objects into this particular table, which is nothing but ADSO. So I say add info objects. Okay, what I'm doing is you have to, once you have seen that your ADSO is here, it is in the hot storage, it is by default write change log. I haven't done any changes to any of the settings in this screen. What I did is I moved to the next tab. ADSO comes with 3 tabs: general, details, and settings. Okay, so we move from generals to details, and even in this particular object creation, we will not see what is partition, indexes, and so on. So those are the advanced topics. We'll skip it. We are not going to look into it. We just have to come to the second tab, which is details tab, and we what we do is in the details tab, we add the objects to our ADSO. Okay, click on add objects. What objects we need? All these 6 objects plus these 2 objects. Those 8 objects we need to select. Okay, start with ZCADD. Right click, and even you can do something because the names are ZC. You can select ZC. We have bank 1, We also have date of birth one. Then the fourth one is C name one. Where is C name one? Fourth one is C name one. Then the next one is ZIO CID one and ZIO prod one. Okay. So ZIO. Can you see one notice? Purposefully, I've given you this just to see that. See, if you have ZC as a wildcard character, you could have easily picked the other objects as well without going for research. Because we have the objects with the different names, I have to then change it. The benefit of having the common naming convention is that it's always easy to manage objects. So now I have to go for ZIO. Now with the ZIO, there are lots of objects are there. First object is CID1, and then I also need to pick ZIO underscore PROD1. These are the objects which are characteristic in nature. Now I also need to pick key figure objects. I think with ZIO, there is a quantity one is also there. Quan one. There's another key figure object I need to pick ZAMT1. See, I am again doing research with AMT. So now I have got all the objects which I need to be there in the ADSO. I have selected it. Now, one thing is very important in the ADSO, you need to have at least one primary key object minimum. Based on that primary key object, you can build the relationship. The table is recognized. It is mandatory to have one primary key object. Typically in our relationship tables or the databases, we usually use the unique ID of a customer as the primary key. So we always take the unique names, not the, because every customer will have a unique customer ID. There could be two customers with the same name, but customer ID would be the something which would be always unique. There won't be two customers with the same customer ID typically. If it is, then that's a wrong database practice. Okay, so if you have to make one object as a primary key, then you select that object whatever you want. You can double click and you can see that it is become primary key. There is another thing, you can make two objects as well. If you want to make customer and product, it is up to you. You can make both of them as a primary key. It's up to you. It depends on the business requirement. Okay, the first primary key is customer ID, second one is product. If you want, you can take one of the primary key out as well. So you can say remove from key, it's up to you. But if you want to add it as a key, add to key, it becomes a primary key. So there are two ways. What we have done is we have gone here, say manage keys, and we have done from here, okay, customer name, I want to bring it primary key, I can take it. If I don't want, I remove it and I just simply cancel it. Or if you want, you can directly, make here as well, say add to key, click on the key column. If you click here, it won't come. Okay. Okay. If you click here, it's good. See, it won't be there, but you have to click on the key section and say add to key. Is it clear? If you don't want this as a key, remove from key. If you don't want date of birth as a key, remove from the key. Okay. So just for this scenario, we have two objects as the key. Now I think we have done all the settings whatever are needed. Now in the detailed class, we'll again see along with this, what are the objects. There are 6 different objects gets created with this particular ADSO. Whenever we create the object, if you go to the data dictionary, you would notice that these 6 objects gets created in the system. You can access these objects by going into the tables. These are the tables which are created in the BW system. These are the views as well. So there are 3 views and 3 tables which gets created with the name of the same object. So our object name is ZADSO underscore C4. Okay. Now /BIC business intelligence C for custom object and /A. Okay. Okay. A for ADSO. It's an indication that it's an ADSO object, and ZADSO is the name which I have given underscore C4. Number 1 is for inbound table. Number 2 for active table. Number 3 for changelog table. 7 for view. 6 for extraction view. 8 for SQL view. I don't know why there's an inconsistency between 4, 5, and 6. I don't know. 4, 5. and 678 is there. So maybe it has reserved some names, some numbers for some future objects. Maybe it could be the case. If you want to display the data, you can display the data from here as well. But yeah, as it is not active, you can't see it. Click on the general. Once we have this object, we can see who created this object, when this object was created, the details related to this objects are there. Now what happens is we have just captured the objects, but this object is actually not yet created. We need to, in BW, activate the objects if you want to use it. So if we check for the consistency, if you want to save, you can just simply save it. But still, if saving it will not allow you to use the object, you can't use it still. If you want to check for the consistency, you can check whether this object is consistently created or not. If there are any issues, it will say that it is inconsistent. And then we need to activate the objects. We have seen this few times in the previous sessions when we created the info objects. I am activating the ADSO. Once this object is activated, what we have done is, okay, we have created a shell wherein we have these objects, a table. Now we need to create the data source. Data source is something where we bring the data. Okay, so if you quickly go to my I think it is not saved, so I'm not sure whether I will be able to show you the data source diagram which I drawn just now in the whiteboard. So we have a data source at the bottom, so we will create, or we need it. Okay, in layman terms, what is a data source? This file. This is my data source. This data I want to bring into the BW system. Is it right, James?
Yeah, right.
Yes. So this file is of some type. It is called as flat file. This type, so there is a source system. First, we need to tell the BW system what type of file it is. Depending on the type of file, it will recognize the data set. So I need to say that, okay, this particular file would bring the flat file data. So the data which I am going to load into the BW system is the flat file data. What I am going to do now, I am going to create a data source. By default, data source is not created. On top of it, I am going to create data source. If you have worked on the older version like SQL and others, we create an ODBC connection. Likewise, to identify the source system, to identify the database schema, to pick the database tables, to pick the relevant fields, we create the relationship. Likewise, we are creating the relationship between the source data, this file, and the ADSO. The objective is to take the data from here, copy it, and paste it there in the BW system. This is an Excel file. It is not in the BW system. This data we want to transfer into the BW system. This is the exercise we are trying to do. And where we are going to transfer in the BW system? In the ADSO. Is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, I take silence as yes always. So which is good. We'll move on to data source creation. What you have to do is quickly jump here, minimize this, and okay. One thing first, what you can do is you go to the uh, um, just give me a second. So I'm back. Yeah. So let's check first whether our object is active. See, there is no inactive sign here. So this is an indication that this object has been created and it is finally created. There is no issue with the object. Where is your James Inforia? Expand the James Inforia. I go to advanced DSO. In this info area, I need to see ZADSO underscore C4. If I expand it, this should be there. ZADSO underscore. Strange. It still says it is not active. Why? Because here it says active. Let us see why it is not active. But it is already active here. Okay. Maybe it is not connected. That is the reason it is okay. See, somehow it's strange. Even though it was showing active version, I reactivated again just to ensure that this object is active. Now this object is finally created. We can use it. I'm just closing this unnecessary tab, and let's move on to the next tab. What we are trying to do is we are trying to tell BW system that I want to load data from Excel. So the Excel files, whatever we load, are called as flat file source system type. Okay, the Excel files are called as flat files in the BW, and these files we have to bring it first, okay, into here BW system. To create that, we have an option here. If you see here, the initial screen of the, this is our BW system. There are only 3 objects in the BW system. One is favorites. If you want to make some object as a favorite, it would appear here in the favorite. If you want to use your objects, all our objects, whatever we are creating, will be there in the BW repository. It is same like our modeling tab in our old world. Once we have this objects here, we can use it. Now, likewise, we also have all our data sources that would appear here in the data source folder. Okay, what we need to do here is we need to tell our system that I want to load data which is of flat file. Now, if we have any one of them here, it is okay. But just to just for the for your experience or for your knowledge, James, we assume that we have gone to a project wherein you are the only person who is the first person on the project and nobody has ever worked on the system. So there won't be any flat files here in the system, flat file source system types. So we have to create one source system type in the system, which should be of flat file. So I want to, because we are doing it for the first time, I want to show you how to create a source system. First thing is I need to create a source system. Second thing is for this file, I need to create something called as a data source. Okay, only 2 things I need to do here in this particular tab. Once I have these 2 things, then I can map it, this data source, into BW repository in our ADSO. Am I going too fast or is it okay?
It's okay.
Perfect. So here, see, if you remember in our RSA1 old world, we go to source system, right click and create a source system, flat file source system. Here in HANA, we do it here in BW for HANA. We come to here in the data source, create a new source system. And we don't need to create for every data source. If we have only one source system flat file, that is enough. We can have all the data sources um, uh, attached to one source system. We don't really need for every file, every data source, one source system. In the system, if it is one, that is enough. So typically the naming convention we give is Z flat file source system. We already have 2, I will say 3. So these are the different ODP providers. These are the different source system types we can have in BW for HANA. We have a separate topic, the chapter number 8. In that chapter, we will discuss each of these connection types. For the time being, just remember that you need to pick file system. This is a flat file source system type. So I pick only file source system and I click on the finish. Okay. Once I have this, it is still inactive. See, I can't use it. So I need to activate this particular source system. Once I activate the source system, then I can use this source system once it is active. Can you see here Z flat file source system 3? It is active here. Okay. As I said, I don't want to have too many objects. We have already got a couple of source systems. I just say select and delete it. I don't want unnecessary objects in my system because having useless objects would create a lot of problems. So the housekeeping job for a BW folk is to, uh, get rid of useless systems, useless objects in the system. Okay. Okay, I have deleted the file source system type. You don't have
So,
to delete
yeah,
it.
sorry, yeah, how many flat file do you have to create? Is it only one?
Just one is enough. One source system, because I think there are different students who created for practice reasons, but in the practical world on a project, you can have as many as you like, but you don't need to. You just need to have one flat file source system type. See what it is communicating with the system is that it is telling to the system that if the data source is created here on the flat file, it will tell the BW system that the data which is coming might be from Excel or CSV file. That is the indication. So all the Excel or CSV files fall under this particular category. We don't need to, for every file, we don't need to tell repeatedly that, okay, there's a new source system of Excel file, new source system of Excel file type. We don't have to tell to BW system. One system can have multiple files, right? In one folder, you can have hundreds of files. Likewise, we just need to tell once to BW that, okay, this is my parent folder, which is the flat file source system type. Underneath, I create the data sources. That's it. Okay. In the flat file source system, I want to create a new data source here. So I select the flat file source system and then select. Purposefully, I'm not using the new flat file source system just to give you that comfort that we can use the existing objects. If you want, it's up to you. I don't stop you. It's a training system. Create whatever objects you want, delete whatever objects you want, whatever objects you have created. Don't delete other students' objects. But if you want to create something, delete something, whatever you want with your objects, do it. You are more than happy to navigate the system. Feel free to create as many objects as you want. This is a good place to play, because in the real world, you can't sometimes even create the objects as per your wish, because sometimes you might have dependency of objects on other objects. Say if you are using a master data shared object, it would be used in hundreds of places. So you can't simply create or delete or edit the objects in the real world. Okay, what I am trying to do now is I am trying to tell BW system that I am using a file, Excel file, which would be linked to our ADSO, which we have created. That Excel file is nothing but my source of the data. So that data source is known by a specific name in the BW system. My file could come from Excel. The data source is Excel based data source. My file could come from your S4HANA as well. So there are data sources which is coming from S4HANA. That would be here ODP, SAP extractors. So we will learn a lot about these. Maybe I might take exclusive session for you to teach you about LO cockpit or other aspects of extraction like generic extraction and so on. If you are available next week or the week after on any weekdays, based on our mutual understanding, we will meet, and I will teach you about generic extractor type and business content and LO extractors. These are the 2-3 topics I want to cover, because I'm very much confident that Rupa and Rakesh would have already learned this and used it in the project.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. Like even I would like to attend the session, because
Sure.
I worked on this APO as a source and DP Connect systems. So it would be like
perfect? You are even if Rakesh wants, he can also attend it. Because I don't want to consume our regular batch time, I would prefer to take it on any of the weekdays.
Yeah.
Are you guys okay to attend on the weekdays?
Yeah.
Not the following week, but the week after.
Yeah,
any
yeah,
day,
yes.
any day. Okay.
Yes, I would love to attend. Any which ways. I also, I am actually looking for a switch. So it would just help me, in my interviews as well.
Perfect. So you all are welcome.
Yeah.
I did not wanted to waste your time. You all are welcome. What we will try to do is just in the interest of time, we will try to conduct a session. Is it feasible anyway, James, that you can communicate with Ken by any chance, or how is it?
Yeah.
Like?
I can pass it over to Ken. Yeah.
Okay, so if that is the case, how about we meet Wednesday, same, which is 4:30 p.m. IST. Is it feasible for you, Rakesh, or are you working?
It would be okay. So just one, correction, like, my name's Rohit.
Sorry?
Rohit, my name is Rohit.
Oh, sorry. Rohit. There was another student, Rakesh. Sorry.
Yeah, I understood.
I am just
not an issue.
confused with. Sorry, Rohit. There was another student, Rakesh. He's drop off. Apologies.
Yeah,
I'm
no
still
problem.
confused.
No problem.
Sorry, Rohit.
Yeah, I would be available. I will be available.
So Rohit, what we will do is this Wednesday we'll try to assemble.
Did you say this Thursday?
No, Wednesday. This Wednesday. I'll tell you the date.
Okay.
Wednesday, yes. Right. This Wednesday, the date would be same time as today, which is 7 a.m. EST.
Okay.
So 4:30 IST, right? Indian time.
Correct. Will it be feasible for you, James?
Wednesday, 7 a.m. Yeah, that should be fine.
Awesome. So just communicate the same with
Kenneth. Yeah.
Ken
So
as
I'm
well.
actually doing it right now. I'm sending it to him right now. So
Awesome, awesome, fantastic. So please join the same the new link, whatever we joined today. Rupa, for you as well, a message that don't join through the Zoom Zoom application. Try to log in through the today's meeting, whatever is there in the blog. Okay.
So,
So
you mean to say the today's session link? We have to click on it.
yes, correct. Yeah, I mean it's like same link, correct.
Okay.
So in whatever link we joined using today's, we can just join the same session link.
Yeah.
And
Also, I got a mail like from your ID, like in that we have a new meeting ID and passcode for this new link.
okay. Okay. So that is fine. Good. So join the same whatever we joined today. I believe from now till the end of the session, we will try to join the same today's meeting ID only. Okay.
Okay.
So by default we'll join the same meeting ID and password, or the same link for the rest of the sessions. Okay. I'm again switching back to HANA Studio. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what I was saying to you, James, was it is very important for you to understand that the data, wherever we have the data, whether it could be in flat file or BW system or wherever it is in S4HANA system, that data in the BW world is nothing but the source for our reporting. That is the source for our objects, source of information. That is the reason it is called as a data source. Okay. Now, here in the data source, in the flat file source system, we have to create a data source. And in that data source, I need to highlight which file I want to bring the data from. Are you getting my point? So data source is nothing but helping you. Data source is nothing but it is going to help you to identify the actual source of data from where we need to pick the information or contents. Okay. Here in this case, this is my source of data, customer one Excel file. Okay. This data I want to bring it into the BW for HANA system. So that is my data source. What I'm going to do is I'm using any flat file source system. We can use any of this. There is no harm. You can use one or you can use this, whatever you want. You create, you can use it. Okay. So I go here, Z flat file source system. I select it, create a new. I have to create a data source in the system. First thing first is when we go to the source system, I create a data source. Now, when we go to SAP delivered objects, you don't have to create. There are hundreds of data sources SAP has already created for us. We just need to go and activate it. That is what we are going to learn in the next session on Wednesday. Okay. On Wednesday's session, we will learn about how we activate those objects. Okay. Because that is not part of this curriculum. If you see this, there's a prerequisite that they feel that, okay, you are already familiar, but I want to help you out by teaching those things so that you gain that confidence that, okay, you are familiar with the concept of activating the business content. You are familiar with the concept of, activating the data sources, creating the generic data sources and so on. All those things we will try to learn Wednesday, and if it is needed, we will again agree upon and have another session Thursday or the week after, whatever it is. Okay. Now, just a recap, I'm creating a new data source. Just as soon as I select and say create new, by default, it will select the project under which it is. So this is the project name. In the project name, we also have the username as well, who created this project. So this is the project created by Best. Okay. This is the client name. This is the BW for HANA system indication. So BW for HANA system, this client, this is the user, and user interface language is English. Okay. If you want, you can create a new project with a different name, but leave it. It's a system default project. All our objects are under this project. You can have multiple projects as well in the system, but again, it would create unnecessary, I would say, like confusion if you are creating it. But if you want, you can create it. That's not a problem. Second thing is, I haven't written anything so far. As soon as I just select here source system, select new data source, those values are pre-populated here in the system. Then I have to say next. Now, is there any template you want to use? No, I don't want to use any template. I can use a template as well. We'll learn about templates at a later stage. I just say next. Now, what is the data which belongs to which business area or data type? That is called as application component. Which type of application this particular data belongs to, whether it is logistics, under logistics, whether it is sales data or purchasing data or something. I can use any of the SAP created application areas as well. I can go here and pick any of the, say, application component areas. But if it is not there, I can say nodes not connected. It's something like a root node. So I'm saying that, okay, go to here, select here, again repeating the same step. Okay, next, say next, and application component is must. You create an application component. If it is not there, if you want your own application component, you can create your own application component and pick and choose. Or if there is nothing, you can say that, okay, I don't know about any application component. I can say nodes not connected. In the previous batch, I created an application component for sales. I will pick the sales as well. If you want, I can say that, okay, this is a sales data. I have picked existing application component. Just correlate an application component to info area. It's almost very much similar to info area. Again, just to have that business terminology, SAP kept the concept of application component. Otherwise, they could have also say, replace this with info area as well. It would have not made much difference. They could have said as, okay, which info area you want to link with. But just to keep that business resonance, business terminology, it's contained application component. So there is one application component which was created as a Z application sales. In this application, it is indicating that this data is related to like a sales data. Are you getting my point? That is the purpose of showing the application component type. Now, what we have to do is, for this data source, we always have to give a name. It's always a best practice. Whenever we are creating a custom object, I prefer to have this naming convention ZDS. Even not me, I would say Rohit, Rupa, or whoever is there who is having past experience in BW, they would easily pick it up with the naming convention that this object belongs to data source. Majority of the BW consultants follow, I would say, a very easy to decipher naming conventions. Okay. ZDS underscore, I believe, Rupa, you might have used similar data source name if you have created ever any generic data source.
Yeah.
Okay. So ZDS, okay. And then because it's a customer data, I would say cust. And this is the fourth time I'm creating this data source. I'm saying cust 4. You don't have to put 4. You can give any name. It's up to you. But this is the technical name of the object. For every object in the system, there is a technical name with which the BW system will recognize the objects. That is called as the name. Then there is a description. Description is more helpful for users, not for the system. So with the description, we recognize the object. Okay, I would say that, okay, this is customer data source number 4. Now, when we click on the data source type, you need to understand there are 4 types of data sources: master data sources and transaction data sources. In master data, you have 3 different types of data source: attribute, text, and hierarchy. We have seen that. But this particular data source, the data which we are going to see here or load here, is of type what? Transaction data source. What I would do is, maybe after we have a session on Wednesday, We will have a separate session on Thursday, Friday, maybe. Yes, on Friday we have a separate session, and we will try to learn how to load data from the master data attributes and stuff. So we will cover that topic as well. So if feasible, we will have another special session on Thursday, same time, 7 a.m. Sorry, on Friday, sorry. One on Wednesday and on again on Friday, then Saturday, Sunday. In that way, we can cover those extra topics during the weekdays, if you guys are okay. Okay, we will decide about the Friday session on Wednesday, but let us confirm that for Wednesday we are meeting at the same time. Okay, now what I was saying, just to recap, I was saying that when we select the data source type, there are actually only 4 types of data sources. The data could be of transaction data type, which is this one. The data could be of master data attribute, text, and hierarchy. I'm not sure how much you can remember from our previous sessions, James, but I have in depth, explained you about the differences between attributes, text, and hierarchies. Is it clear? If not, we will recap it again Friday session if we are agreeing to conduct another session on this Friday. We will go through creation of attributes and text. Next, okay. I have to select the type of data source, which is transaction data. Let's pick the transaction data type of data source and say finish. Now this is good. From here, it will take to next screen, similar to the ADSO screen creation. We have an overview. I don't really have to worry about doing anything in the overview session, overview tab. In the overview section, I can leave as it is. We will learn about those advanced features of these properties at a later stage. Move on to extraction. What do you mean by extraction? Extraction is something wherein I want to show that where the source file is residing in my system. This is very important. When I'm extracting the data, while extracting the data, I have to provide the physical location of the file. There are 2 ways we can do the this job. One is we can provide the physical location of our system where the file is located. There is another way which Rupa was saying. You can load the same file, whatever cust1 file is, we can load into the application server. So we have to give it to the basis folks. They will in the background, the operating system of the BW for HANA system would be either Linux or Unix. So from the database, they will go there and then they will keep the file into our application server, and from there you can pick it. Or if we have PO guys, then they can write a program to copy and paste the file into the application server in the system. So there are various ways we can do that job. But for the time being, I don't want to confuse you. Just remember that here in this particular screen, the most important aspect of this particular screen is to provide the file location to the system. We have to show where my actual file lies. I go to browse and there's a desktop. In the flat files, this file is there. I select it and say open. Once I have the file, in the file I have this the descriptions of the file field names. I don't want this to be loaded because there are already info objects. This would be misleading. My actual content, table content, is from row number 2. So I want this particular record to be skipped. I don't want that to be loaded. So to ignore the header rows, I say ignore first record of the file. I don't want to load that file into the system. Once I ignore that, I have something called as a data separator. Here I can use, because it's a comma separated file, I delete that and put the comma here in the system. I delete the semicolon and replace it with comma. Then just for your comfort, if you want to see whether the file is same as what was meant to be, you can verify the file contents here. Okay, you can verify from here. There is another thing which you can do. At this moment it is not needed. There's other thing which you can do is you can also drive fields from the file. At the moment it is not needed, but if you want, you can drive the fields, what fields you need. We will see it at a later stage, the different one.
Yeah.
But for the
So,
sorry, yes.
Sir, yeah, going back to if you want to the data separator. So you use a comma, but when you go down the bottom, the escape sign is a semicolon right there, the inverted comma right there. So do you
Yes,
also
yes.
have to put that one over
Nah,
there?
that leave it, leave it. Doesn't matter. Escape sign. I really don't think it's going to matter at all. But in case if there is an
Okay.
issue, it will throw an error. Then we can change it. But I am pretty sure we don't have to do anything with the escape sign. Leave it as it is.
Okay.
It is irrelevant. Okay.
All right. Okay.
So, but I like it. You have picked it very cautiously, which is good. Your observation is very keen. So, good job. Let's move on from the second tab, which is extraction tab, to the fields tab. Here, you can also add the fields which you want, or manually you can add the fields, or the other way is uh, you can also add the info objects as well here. All the info objects which we have, there are multiple ways you can do it. If we pick the info objects, the beauty would be, when we create the transformations, it would be easy. So let's do it this way. There are two ways for the BW folks. SAP has also given us a flexibility to work on the source fields as well. Now we have an option to use the source field name as it is into the BW system. We don't have to have corresponding BW info object in the system. This is a big benefit for us. It is a big time saver. But for this case, just to keep it simple, we will pick the fields info objects which we created in the ADSO. I can just simply go here and go to James info area. And if you want to see all the fields, you can check characteristics and key figures, or you can also pick the fields from your ADSO. But the problem is if I click here, I can't see the fields easily because I need to then switch between one and this. So ADSO will not give, I need to switch the tab. That was time consuming. Let us look here and pick the fields from here easily. Click on add info objects. There are multiple ways. I'm just taking it very simple way to do it. It would save a bit of time and hassle uh, to create the object. So what we have to do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All these objects we need to map it here, pick it up. So I say ZC. We need address. Yes. We need bank details. We need date of birth. We also need ZC customer name. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 objects with C. Then we have 2 objects with IO. In fact, 3 objects with IO are there. Okay. With the ZIO, we have, what do we have? CID1. Where is CID1? We also have product one. What else do we have? We also have quantity one. Okay, then we are missing amount. We also need to pick amount as well uh, in our data source. What's the name of the amount? ZAM. Okay, we got everything. You might be wondering where is zero currency. Zero currency is associated or tagged to amount. It will come by default. I say click on OK. Now, once I have all the fields available here, I don't have to worry about here making primary key or secondary key. There is no concept of primary key or secondary key here in this system. We in this screen. So we just at the data source level, we just have to pick the fields which we need. There was another simpler way to do this. I will show at a later time. The other option to create a data source rather than picking and choosing all the fields like this. We can directly pick from the Excel file as well as a field, source fields. That would be much faster and easier. But purposefully I have done a long route for this today's topic. I have to activate it. You can just simply check, save, check, and activate. So once we activate this data source, if it gets activated, then only we can use it. If it is, see here, it is still red, it is inactive, but once it becomes active, then you can use it. And in the meantime, I don't want the other tab to be here. Avoid confusion. I want to minimize James and here. So now this particular data source is created ZDS underscore cust4. Remember this customer 4 data source is already created. You can go to flat file, expand it, and see whether you have customer 4. Where did I create it? I created in the which application component? Can anyone remember? I remember where I have created, but I want you to tell me which application component this particular data source is available.
You want us to show you where you created those components? Is that
this data source, whatever we created, where is it?
This should be in the flat file source, the flat file source system. So I want you want us to show you where it is in the data.
Where is this data source which is created? Correct. Just now we created, no? Where is it? Why is it not visible here?
Oh, yeah, I remember you were talking about something about we didn't activate.
Yeah, it is somewhere, no? It has to be visible. Why is it not visible? Where is, we have created this data source. Now if I delete this, where is my data source cust4? This is created, no, already. So it is saying that it is created. I can see that it is created, yes. And I look at the properties. It is already created, active, everything is all good. If I have created it, then why is it not visible then? Okay. I'll tell you. You remember I have created this data source. You can go to here and then in the flat file source system, you also have nodes not connected. In that I have something called as a sales application component. It's created under sales application component. Okay. Do you see here the torch? Okay. If you don't remember the path where it was created, okay. If you don't remember the path where it was created, just enter the name of the data source, technical name. Easier to search with the technical name. Even with the description also it will search. So search, click on the search. So it is bringing the file where it is in the path. Or if you don't know, just click here, flat file source system context. ZTS underscore cust. See, these many are there cust. Okay, if I have to be specific, I have to say then ZDS underscore cust4. Okay, I've got my object. I select it here. I can get it from here. It says that, okay, this is the history of the objects and it is already there here. Okay, now that nothing is there. See, as soon as I click on the search object, it brought the data source here. We got the data source here. Okay. Now, am I clear? I'll move on to the next one. Okay. We have got the source data. We have also got the target data. Okay. We got the source, which we have got the source, which is data source. We have also got the ADSO. We got both the stuff. Okay. Now what we need to do, we need to establish a relationship between source and target. How do we establish a relationship between source and target? Okay, easy way. But I don't know to go the easy way again. Let's let's go to ADSO. This is our ADSO. Okay. Okay. This is our ADSO. On this ADSO, I need to create something called as a transformation. Right click, new. I create a transformation. So transformation will allow me to link to my data source. I select here what data source here. What is the object name and source system? We can pick the source system first. Okay. Flat file source system, file system. No, sorry, this is HANA file system. Wrong, I think. I have picked the say star. If you don't don't see anything, star, and anything is okay. I'm sorry. We can just pick. Okay, all these are the flat file source system. So pick flat file source system type, and then object name. Object name, if you remember, that is fine. Or else you pick like this, ZDS underscore cust4, and then click on what finish. Now, what it is doing is it is trying to build relationship between ADSO and data source. Okay, so it is trying to build a connection, establish a connection between source and target. So here I don't want to again get into the nitty-gritties. Most important thing is because we have created info objects in the data source, it already mapped the objects. See, this is the relationship between source to target. This is my data source. The target is ADSO. Can you read here? ZDS underscore CS cust4, and this is my ADSO. Once we have all this, what we do is, the relationship is already established. These are like, for the key figures, direct assignments are there. And don't worry about the technical rules. Just ignore. We don't have to do much here. Okay. We just simply activate the objects. Okay. So once the connection is established, now we have to actually, load the data. How do we load? To load the data, we need to have a process in place that is called as data transfer process. So once this object is activated, you can see that there is a new info area which got created under James. Okay. No, sorry, my bad. Where is it? No. Okay. So let's see. Where is it? Where is our data store object? Underneath the ADSO 4, you would see that there's a new object got created here. Okay, in this path, you would see that a new object is created. Do you see a transformation folder here? This is the transformation folder. This transformation is the technical name of the transformation. We use this technical name to capture the objects while transporting the objects into the different system in the landscape. We will talk about the transports at a later stage, but at the moment, understand that we have created the channel. So the transformation will help you to tell that, where to where the data is going. See, it is telling you clearly that, this is the data source and this is my ADSO. It is going from RSDS is nothing but the data source, and ADSO is to ADSO. To from which data source? This is the technical name of the data source, DS underscore cust4, and from DS underscore cust4 to ADSO underscore C4. This is the target path. So we have established a channel. Now we have to actually trigger the data load. To trigger the data load, we need to have one more object in place that is called as DTP. So again, to create a DTP, we create here, come to ADSO, go to click new and say something called as data transfer process. It's very simple. It is one of the easiest object to create. Click on next. Okay. And then say click on finish. The object is created. We have to just activate it. You don't have to do much here in this particular screen. We will talk about all the detailed settings of these, what to do and where to do at a later stage. In the interest of time, we will just simply activate this object. See, this object is still inactive. Red is here. You can see this, no stopping symbol, like, no, what is a stop symbol, means that it is inactive. Check for the consistency and activate the object. Now, once it is activated, the version is changed to active. Once this object is active, you can see that there is a new folder is created here, data transfer process. Underneath that, this object is created. Now, with the help of this object, we can actually load the objects or the load the data from the flat file to this particular object. We will just trigger the load here. The green button there will allow you to load the data, and click on the execute button. Once we click on the execute button, you would see that there are some records which are loaded. To see the records, for you folks, Rohit and Rupa, we are actually seeing the same screen of GUI which was there, but embedded into HANA Studio.
Yeah.
So there is no change, but actually it is hyperlinked to the GUI. We are accessing the same GUI from here. Okay, you know all these things. I believe if you have ever worked on the support project or BW, then obviously you would be knowing administer the data target and stuff. So there is nothing new here. It is again one and the same. So we can administer the data target. We can see close this. I don't know. I need to sort out with the basis that guy, that issue, and then load monitor. So we have the load monitors, and if you want, we can see the data target data. There are various ways to see the data. Okay. Close it. See, do you see here when I click on the right click here or right click here? Do you see three tables? You can see the inbound table. Click on the inbound table. Again, you can see here, or you can go to list cube in the screen and you can check from here. So this is the data we loaded. This is a new object which is system generated request ID, request number. Then there is data packet ID. I will talk about these things at a later session to you, James, but I'm pretty sure Rohit and Rupa are familiar with this record mode. All these are there, but actual data comes from here. Our actual data is here. So this data is already there in the Excel file. So from here to here, we are loading the file. Because I haven't given any currency in the flat file, I don't see any values there. It is blank. Maybe we have to update the file with the currency values so that we get the currency as well. Okay, so this is loaded. Once it is loaded, it is there in the new data table. But if you go back and see, it is not there in the active data table. Okay, it would be blank. It's not allowed for Den Pro object. I don't know why. Okay, number of entries is 0. And if you execute, no table entries found. What I said in the session today was, whenever you load the data, you always need to activate the ADSO. Where do we activate? Here. Okay, it might be slightly fast for you, but we will repeat it a few times. So we just say activate. We can select activate request by request. It's okay. There is only one request. Doesn't matter. So once it is activated, then data will get transferred from inbound table or the new data table to the active data table. Okay, once it is done, you would see that it is green, and then once this status turns to green, we will have active data request 1 here, and then you would see the data in the active data table. You won't be able to see data in the new data table now, which is inbound table. Inbound table will be blank after it is activated. Okay. Why is it taking, see, power of HANA? I don't know why it's taking so much for 7 records. I'm not sure whether it is HANA power or what, but let us refresh it and see, why it is taking so long. Okay, all good. Now, if you see the inbound table, as I said, why? It's not activated then.
The activation request is failed. Activation.
Oh,
See.
sorry. Yeah. Sorry, there's an error here. The activation, maybe I just refreshed it quickly. So we need to reactivate it and see it. Okay. So maybe we just do it in the next class because I have another session now. So I can't continue beyond this. So let's meet before we hang up. So this is the way we do it. So what we will do is, let's meet on Wednesday at the same time, 7 a.m. EST, 4:30 p.m. IST, on the same meeting ID as of today, and then we will continue with some additional topics which are not part of this course. Okay, James, as you might have already mentioned, I believe can just ask him to be present so that he don't miss those important topics. Okay.
Yeah, he has confirmed it. So he said
Awesome.
Wednesday.
So see you folks on Wednesday, same
one
time.
thing,
Yep.
Ian, actually, could you please check the videos are not uploaded yet? Could you please push?
Sure.
For it?
I will update the support team to upload the videos till today.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you start watching from the video number 1 if you want to. But
Yes,
otherwise,
yes, exactly.
they are okay. You can, if some of the content is very generic, so you can skip the, fast forward the videos and skip the content and
Okay.
watch the videos. Okay.
Also,
Thank you for attending the session. I hope you all enjoyed it. Don't forget to visit our Vimeo page and follow for more upcoming videos.